All right, today we're going to be on the first episode of Life Hacks. Now, I want to start. I'm a normal guy. I don't do YouTube. I'm not one of these fancy influencer YouTube guys. I'm just trying to help people. And every week, I'm going to give you a different life hack, something I've learned from my own life, either from reading, learning from someone like Tony Robbins. He's a big influence in my life, or stuff I've created myself by the grace of God. Now, I have Tourette syndrome, so you may see me twitch. You may see me do some things, you know. It's just going to be real. I'm trying to help you guys, all right? So in this first life hack episode, it's going to be a technique that I developed by the grace of God to help save my life. So about 2.5 years ago, I was lying in bed. I had a respiratory virus. The rest of the house hadn't yet been infected, so I was isolating, sleeping in my own bed with my wife was in another room, and woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning and couldn't breathe, and it scared me to death, literally. I felt like I was dying, and I had one of those moments. I called out to God, God, please help me. I'll quit smoking if this is what it's going to be like. Even if I make it through this, I don't want to end up in a hospital, struggling to breathe. I deal with pain every day from my Tourette's. This was unreal. This was not like nothing I've ever experienced. It was scary. I was one of those people, I smoked cigarettes for 30 years. I drank, did all that. I felt like I was invincible, but even if I did die, it was okay. I was ready for it. But when you're faced with that, it's different, right? So I prayed. I said, God, please help me through. He helped me through. I had another night like that the next night. Again, not smoking at that point. I couldn't even think about breathing or going outside, much less lighting up a cigarette. But I made that commitment. Now, it got hard about 4 days after that when I started feeling better. I said, oh, yeah, I could use a cigarette. I was like, God, help me. How am I going to do this? Again, smoked 30 years, and I wasn't one of those little light, Virginia Slims social smokers. I was 2 packs a day on average, sometimes more, of course. Hardcore, I was a smoker. If they had an Olympics, I would have medaled each year. I was a champ, and not in a good way. So anyway, to get to the point, I needed help. So where am I going to get a tool? How am I going to quit? It was like cutting off my arm. So I was watching TV one day and I saw an ad for these mints that I'd never even heard of. I'm in Sydney, Australia now, from America, as you can tell from the accent, but I'd never heard of these mints, and I'd been here for 3 or 4 years at the time, and I didn't know about the mint, didn't care really about the mints, but I recognized the package. I was like, that looks like a pack of cigarettes. It's got the cellophane and everything. And I said, all right, well, that's great. I need to order some, because the oral fixation, that'll help with that. Plus, come on, that looks like a pack of cigarettes. So I ordered them, put them aside, it helped for a while, but I still, needed the nicotine. Like I said, for the Tourette's, it actually helps. It calms the nerves, and I've, been smoking far too long. So I needed nicotine. So this is not an endorsement for any product. There's no medical advice here. Every disclaimer that can be given, I want to give now. I'm not in any way advising. This is just what worked for me, and if it can help somebody in your life who's a smoker, or if you're a smoker, I hope to help you, because every week it's a different life hack. Health is important. There's a quote, a person with his health or her health has many dreams. A person without it has but one. So we have to be healthy to be able to enjoy everything in life. So that's a foundation. And this is something that if you're a smoker, I used to hear this, if you smoke, the best thing for your health is to quit smoking. I thought it was crap, but it's true. I used to not be able to walk up the hill by our house here to go to the restaurant. And now I run up it. And I used to see these people running. I said, what losers, that looks so boring. And hey, fancy you. I became one of them, and it makes it a huge difference. So anyway, that's that. Now, so I got this nicotine spray. So that's one piece of the puzzle. So I was helping out. The nicotine cravings weren't really there because I was substituting with nicotine spray. I had the mints for the oral fixation, but gosh, you know what? I later discovered half of it is this action. The physical action. So I was air smoking, and at home, pretending, I have a good imagination. I was pretending to light up cigarettes. It worked. But then when I went out in social settings, my mates were going out to smoke with them, when they were smoking. What are you doing? You look mad. I said, oh yeah, that's a good point. And I thought, well, I need a prop. So my beautiful, amazing wife found these prop cigarettes. Now, they didn't have them in Australia, but she got them from America. So they get shipped in. I'm like, oh, these are great. These are great. They look just like a real cigarette, right? Problem is, I went to light one, pretend it was like smoking a brick. There was nothing. It was just, looked like that. So, expediting things, I've thought, well, okay, what if, I just aerate them a little bit, get a little needle, poke it in the filter, poke it in the tip of this, until I get a draw that feels like a cigarette. So I did that. And I thought, well, now I need a pack. I need something to put them in. And then I remembered this, handy dandy. And guess what? It just so happened, by God's grace, to fit perfectly, right? So this, back to the Nicorette, right? This is about the weight and size of a lighter. In my pocket, lighter and cigarettes. And if you're a smoker, you know exactly the association, how important that is to have that feeling. So now what I do, I'll show you, spray in the cheek. Do not spray it in your throat or on your tongue. You will choke, and you will promise you won't want to smoke for a while with that. You just get a little bit of that. Now it burns, but use the burn, because the burn, if you smoke again, you know that part of when you draw, it has a little bit of fire. Now again, I have a very vivid imagination. So for me, it's pretending to light it. Pretend you have a little ashtray by you, or if you're outside in the dust, you know, in your barn in Texas, you just ash on the floor. Now, that helps. Now, do I think this is healthy? No. But is it healthier than sucking on tar and tobacco and every other fumes, basically sucking on an exhaust pipe of a car? Absolutely. Again, not a health endorsement, not a health advice. But when I realized I had to quit smoking, it was like, you're going to cut off my right arm. Which it did, but instead of just cutting it off and leaving me like this became a prosthetic. It's like, all right, I'll give you a robo arm. You can feel this. You can maintain your health a lot better than without it. And again, my cardio, I've been tracking, you know, with all these devices, my cardio health has improved drastically. I went from basically, I should have been dead in about 5-10 years to, you know, athlete level cardio fitness. Now I exercise and do all that other stuff we'll get into later, but primarily, if you smoke, or if you know someone and love someone who smokes, this can help. Again, not an endorsement, not for any products, not health advice, but it's a technique I learned, and I hope to give you many more in the weeks to come, and hopefully longer. All right, God bless you.